The Green Bay Packers' proposal to ban the Tush Push failed for the second time today.
Pushing through, got to stop him at some point here.
As the owners met in Minnesota, but it didn't come without a lot of controversy.
This is a double cheek push here.
As one of the owners of the Buffalo Bills went as far as to lie about Jason Kelce retiring because of the wear and tear from this play. So much so that Jason Kelce had to fly to Minnesota to disprove it.
I'm actually going to Minnesota. I was asked,
What?
I'll go over that and more after the intro. Hey, what's going on? I'm Kevin Woodman. Welcome back to the Kevin Woodman Show. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how the Tush Push reached 2 votes shy of getting banned, even though technically it wasn't about the Tush Push anymore, considering that the Green Bay Packers' first proposal failed, only getting 19 votes, falling 5 short, needing 24 votes to get it banned. They ultimately had to revise it to try to get more people on board, where the original one was specifically about the Tush Push.
Because the initial proposal was caca. Okay, the initial proposal was embarrassing. Taking away the ability to immediately push the person that receives the snap. That was going to create inconsistency. It was going to create allegations that the game is rigged because out comes the flag. Was it immediate? Was it? No. They needed something else. Okay, if the problem is pushing, why don't you just get rid of pushing?
And the revised version was more about offensive players not being able to assist the ball carrier. Now, me personally, I think if you're going to make a rule where the offensive player is not allowed to be assisted when it comes to progressing or moving the ball forward, then I also think it should be a rule that the defensive tackler shouldn't be allowed to get assisted by other tacklers. To me, that's the only way to make that fair, but nobody really ever brought that point up.
the assisting the runner has never made sense to me because defensive players are allowed to gang tackle running backs. Why are they allowed to stop a running back with 4 defensive players, but I can't help my running back out?
But perhaps that's partially the reason that 10 NFL teams voted to not pass this new ban, as the biggest critics were citing things like injuries.
Where I'm most concerned is, even though there's not significant data out there to this point, my biggest concern is the health and safety of the players.
And I don't know where he gets this information from, considering the fact that the NFL's Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Troy Vincent, said in February that the league's internal data revealed a 0% injury rate on Tush Push related plays. But at the end of the day, there is no real history of injuries, even though former Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator Sean McDermott, who's currently the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, has been one of the most vocal proponents when it comes to banning this play, which doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of people have really questioned why the Buffalo Bills are one of the biggest supporters of this ban, since they're also the team that runs it probably the second most out of any team in the NFL behind the Philadelphia Eagles.
Tush push. Here it is.
So much so that they actually famously couldn't convert a first down in the AFC Championship game.
They're going to try the tush push again? You know they will.
On back-to-back attempts that probably cost them the game. So maybe that's why, because they're not nearly as good at it as the Eagles are. I don't think the Eagles have ever run the play twice and failed to get the first down like the Buffalo Bills did in such a high-profile game. But Sean McDermott has been one of the most vocal people about banning this play, and he's always cited injury, despite the fact that they used their league MVP, Josh Allen, to use the exact same play. And even though he's one of the most expensive players in the entire league and also one of the most valuable, they haven't had an issue putting him in that situation over and over again, to the point where he might get hurt.
Do you think you'll continue to run the play if it remains and you have concerns about the safety? Do you think you'll continue to run it? Because I think you ran it quite a bit last year.
A form of it, right? A form of it. So I think it's a loose term, really, in terms of what defines a tush push. So there's different forms of it out there. I know we are one of the teams that people identify that run it. That's fair. There's other teams as well. So we're gonna always act in a way that's best for the health and safety of the players.
But that didn't stop the Buffalo Bills co-owner from spreading a vicious lie to try to get support for this ban. According to ESPN's Kalen Caller, from the last owners meeting in April, said that Jeffrey Lurie spoke in defense of the play during a meeting, and Bills co-owner Terry Pegula responded to Lurie by saying that his future Hall of Fame center Jason Jason Kelce retired due to wear and tear from the Tush Push play. And of course, this comment was supported by Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy, who presented the proposal to ban the Tush Push in the first place, where he said that I believe Jason Kelce had made public comments about how he's glad he's not involved in the play anymore because it was pretty dangerous.
I'll say this. I'm actually going to Minnesota. I was asked.
What?
So there were some things said at the last owners meeting, essentially saying that some of the owners and coaches hinted that the reason I stopped playing was because of the Tush Push and that I got hurt on the Tush Push frequently.
What the fuck?
It was thought that they were referencing a podcast where he had mentioned how the play was grueling, but he never said that the play was dangerous. But it was real enough to the point that Jason Kelce actually flew out to this meeting in Minnesota to speak publicly to defend that this was not the reason that he retired for other reasons, which is absolutely ridiculous. As we all know that the real reason Jason Kelce retired is because he's currently 37 years old, retiring at an age that most people retire.
I'll tell you this right now. I'll come out of retirement today if you tell me all I got to do is run 80 Tush Pushes to play in the NFL. I'll do that gladly. It'll be the easiest job in the world, and it'll be like 80-some snaps.
He's also talked a lot about the fact that he's concerned with long-term injuries, things like CTE, concussions. He has had a lot of wear and tear on his body, but that's just typical of an NFL lineman, especially when you're a center who's undersized like he is. But the real reason that Jason Kelce retired is the fact that he had a lot of opportunities elsewhere. He was getting job opportunities from Monday Night Football, from ESPN. He got his own late-night talk show. Is one of the most famous podcasts in the world right now, and you can't turn on a TV without seeing him in a commercial. So what are we talking about here? So it's pretty clear and obvious that a lot of this was a lie, and it was a smear campaign to ultimately try to get a play ban that nobody has any idea how to stop. In fact, if you look at the top 10 teams that all were voting for this play to stay in the game, only 2 of these teams are actually in the same conference as the Philadelphia Eagles, which means that 7 teams in the AFC voted to keep this, and there's only 16 teams in each conference, so it's almost half, which means that the majority of the conference that the Eagles are in wanted this play banned because, let's be honest, they're most likely to play them on their way to try to get to the Super Bowl. With the only 2 teams that did not vote for this to be banned, with being the Detroit Lions, a team that also has potentially the best offensive line in the entire NFL and might want to use a play like this, or might at the very least want to use a variation of a play where they have to push a runner, while the Saints are in the running for the worst team in the entire league, with no real delusion that they have any chance of getting to the Super Bowl this year or maybe anywhere in the future, considering that pretty much every quarterback on the roster is a rookie or a second-year player, and none of them are really considered to be franchise guys. So they have a long road to go before they can even consider facing the Eagles and potentially getting to a Super Bowl. But those are the only 2 teams in their conference that didn't decide to try to ban this play. And we can only speculate why teams may or may not have voted to ban this play or to keep it. But at the end of the day, one thing we know is sure, the teams that were ahead of this, leading the pack, are definitely cowards!